You guys got the slap and the spin. You guys know how it is. Today we're going to be talking about TGS. You read the title. You saw the thumbnail. You know what we're talking about. We're talking about what should your expectations be, or at the very least, what are my expectations when it comes to Tokyo Game Show 2023 and Microsoft and Xbox. Here's the thing. There's no denying it throughout the years. Microsoft has showed up to this, and they have, for the most part, sprinkled, that sprinkle meme. They sprinkled some decent content in these shows, but for the most part, they've never really showed up here in masses that you would really set the internet on fire. Is that going to change this year? I think it will. I'm being told some crazy stuff behind the scenes. Now, I'm not going to go into that because I feel like that would set expectations too high. But one thing I will say is what I'm being told, it feels like this year is going to be a little bit different in terms of the quality they show up here. It's no secret throughout the past couple years, Square Enix has been very lackluster in terms of what they deliver to the Xbox brand. And I feel like there is some realm of truth to this, because what's going on here is you had a point where they were releasing everything on Xbox, they putting everything on Game Pass, and then nothing. That relationship seemed like it was gone. For years, it seemed like it was gone. But something happened. Something happened this year, it seems, where, Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond, they went over there a few times. I think with that and the new CEO that took in charge of Square Enix, maybe, and it does seem that he has a different, motivation when it comes to working with Microsoft. I don't know if they're over there, whispering in his ear, we'll pay for all of the production that goes into the porting, we'll give you a bigger cut, maybe something like that is, or maybe he just realistically knows that what they've been doing isn't going to work. We see multiple scenarios where Square Enix, they're hitting their margins, their stocks going down. Maybe the new CEO just wants to actually deliver the content that Square Enix does make on everything known to man. So that's why the first thing I'm going to say is I do believe that we're going to see Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Xbox platform. Clearly, this could be wrong. And if it's wrong, it is what it is at that point. But I think there's something to say on whether or not they feel comfortable putting on there. And I think that was completely thrown out the window the moment when we seen 14 announce that it's coming to Xbox next year. Now, the biggest question I have, and you guys put it in the comment section below if you guys have this question, is where does that leave for Rebirth? Now, for the longest time, and I think everyone watching this that's a fan of these games, we have been under the impression that Final Fantasy VII Remake will never come to the Xbox platform. And I think with that mentality, we're not even looking at Rebirth. But if 7 Remake comes to Xbox, where does that leave Rebirth? I think if it does come to the Xbox, you'll see Rebirth on the platform sooner rather than later. It's no secret that at the end of that trailer for the recent Rebirth, Final Fantasy Rebirth, there was a specific thing at the very bottom that said it was a 3-month timed exclusivity and it'll be on other platforms. Now, normally when we see stuff like that, we say, yo, that's PC. It's coming to PC. And I think normally that is the case. But this particular moment, with this look like rejuvenated relationship between Xbox and Xbox and Square Enix, maybe we see Remake on the Xbox platform and they just came straight out and say, look, it's coming to Xbox after the timed exclusivity with PlayStation. Now, obviously, if there's marketing deals preventing that, then, take that with a grain of salt. That might not happen until you get closer to the actual timed exclusivity, running out, which clearly is 3 months. But, I want to set expectations on this, that all of this, there's a chance it will happen, but I would say it'd be like 60-40. 60% it can happen, 40% it cannot happen. And the reason I want to go towards more that it can happen is because we clearly see variables changing. But when it comes to Rebirth, now I think there's a good chance that Remake might come. But when it comes to Rebirth, you might have to wait a year to 2 with that. And the reason I say that is if it isn't through 3 months, I wouldn't be surprised if either A, PlayStation goes ahead and, has them sign a contract a long time ago that says you can bring this to PC, even Switch, but I don't want you bringing this to Xbox. And they do if it isn't the timed exclusivity thing, PlayStation is notorious, and they have done in the past where they went back over previously signed deals and they've paid to extend that duration. So I want you to really be cautious of that in general. Now, another thing that I think 7 is coming is, I've been very vocal with my last video where for some reason the prototype of the next Switch, I'm going to call it the Switch 2, was highly rumored that Square actually has Final Fantasy VII Remake running on it like it's running on the PlayStation 5. And that's interesting because to me, why even allow Square to port your game over there, or why even take the time to port your game over there if you have no intentions on ever selling it on that platform? So that makes me see right there that most likely this game could have been on Switch from the start. Maybe not the start, but after that timed exclusivity thing. But the Switch couldn't handle that game at that time. And now it looks like maybe that's not the case with whatever the predecessor of the Switch is. And that's why I think that maybe that relationship between Square Enix and Xbox was so bad that it's not necessarily they couldn't deliver that game to the platform. They just chose not to. And, that might be the case. It might not be the case. But anyway, that is the biggest, prediction I have is we're going to see Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. Now, it'd be crazy if this sucker shadow drops. Imagine they come up there and they say Final Fantasy VII Remake is officially coming to the Xbox today. Now, what I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below is, do you think that has to be in Game Pass day and date to be really catching that wave? I don't think that. I think a Game Pass announcement would be huge, but I don't think that is necessary to really capture the wave of people on the internet. I think it coming to the Xbox platform in general would be good. Now, it would be crazy if they announced that Rebirth is coming to Xbox Game Pass when it officially comes out on Xbox. And, Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to Game Pass would be big too. Both would be huge, but I think if you're going to capture that audience, maybe you can make two arguments. You can make one argument that it'd be easier to, put the Game Pass with 7 Remake to get people wanting to buy Rebirth, or, Rebirth would be a bigger game to be in Game Pass that would bring more value. I don't know. Next game on the list is Octopath Traveler 2. Another Square Enix game. I think this is actually a really good chance this might happen. We have seen throughout time that, Octopath Traveler has been on Game Pass. We've seen Square Enix work with Game Pass. Now, if there was some kind of bad relationship that has been remedied, maybe they'll resume that, their smaller titles coming to Game Pass. Apparently, Octopath Traveler 2, it was successful, but it didn't do as, commercially as they would have originally anticipated. So maybe that Game Pass bag will really push Square Enix to, delivering more of those type of content. I know they said that they don't want to work, or not necessarily don't want to work. It just financially, it makes more sense for them to focus more on the bigger titles like Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, because those games generate a lot of money. They just got to make those games deliver more in terms of what actually happens. In terms of Game Pass bags, I think we might actually see like a Persona. It'd be crazy. Let's push the Game Pass back thing down a little bit. I'm going to go out on the limb. This is my mic to drop moment. I don't know if this would ever happen, but clearly Sega has been at more and more relevancy these past few years. We just saw them at PAX West. I talked to the people at Atlas. They said it was the first event they've ever been to. So clearly they're seen more and more as, what's what I'm looking for. They have a better brand association now. So they're going to go to these events by themselves as an Atlas, not just Sega. Atlas. It didn't say Sega on it. It said Atlas. So it'd be crazy if we saw Persona 6 at the VGAs, and not the VGAs, the TGS. Now I understand people are saying Addict, TGS, is a horrible place to be shown. Something as big as Persona 6 needs to be used for like an E3 kind of moment. And I kind of disagree. I think Microsoft's end game and the way I want them to go is every event they have certain titles that just plays better at those events. You know, TGS is a Tokyo themed. It's in the eastern part of the world. It would make more sense if they had a partnership and a marketing deal with Persona 6 to show that on the stage in Japan. And I know that would probably look better in terms of a partnership. You know, not only do we want to partner and market your game, we want to reveal your game on the stage in your country. And I think that would really, really do goods in terms of the partnership between Sega, Atlas, and Microsoft. I think we're going to see Game Pass bags come from Capcom. Now, I know they have a lot of smaller titles. I don't know if we'll see anything like Resident Evil style, but I do think we'll see some form of, you know, timed exclusivity, you know, just Game Pass bags going through there. It's just interesting. I think we might see some hardware that is directed towards the Japanese marketplace. I don't know if that will ever come to the West side, but I do think they're going to have some form of exclusivity art style over there in terms of hardware. But, you know, when it comes to that, that's all I really have. Obviously, there's going to be little stuff that they show. You know, a dream of mine was seeing like Mistwalker pop up on the stage. But I want to really, you know, grab you guys. Keep your expectations in check with this. These events aren't necessarily always huge. They usually have one really good announcement here, but they don't have like back to back. I had to do it. I'm sorry, guys. They don't normally have a lot of really high demand episodes and high demand announcements in these kind of shows. I do think we're going to see a lot of indies on there because Phil Spencer even said that, you know, he wants to highlight more of Eastern developers and indie developers. So we'll see that too. You know, I think it's going to be good. I think if anything, at the very least, we'll get an Octopath Traveler 2 from Square Enix, and the very most we'll get Final Fantasy 7 Remake from Square Enix. It'd be good if we got both. It's like I said, Atlas, I think there's a variety of things that can happen there, from Game Pass bags to the stuff that isn't already in Game Pass day and date to the bigger titles being formally announced there, like Persona 6. And, you know, as far as the other companies, the problem with that is it's really hard to determine who's marketing deals. And if PlayStation secured some of these marketing deals, it would be harder for them to get it on that stage. And I think that's why Microsoft's been more aggressive over there, because they know that, especially on the West, a lot of Western audiences love these type of games. And, you know, you can't really grow in a region if you don't have more of those games. I think it would be best if they showed some form of a timed exclusivity, because they don't really have that. You know, Game Pass bags are nice, but you know what's nicer? Something that brings value to your console of that type of game that is the audience you're trying to grow. And I think that's really important as well. You know, building a studio over there, I think is important, but I've said that multiple times in the videos before this. But, you know, this is the probably third or fourth year of what I expect at TGS. And for the most part, they always deliver what I expect from a TGS. I hope this year it elevates that a little bit, because I feel like TGS should be an E3 to Microsoft. They should want to bring high caliber and wanted games from Atlas, from Square Enix, from Capcom. They want to work with these companies to get their games on Xbox day and date every game. So you want to be over there in big numbers every time that the doors are open to you. But put in the comment section below, what do you guys expect from TGS 2023? Very curious to hear you guys' opinion on this. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.